Greetings. This is group three here for an analysis of We Are the World. I am Frederick Peter Magwans, and would the next person like to introduce themselves?
Hi, my name's Taya.
Next.
Hi, I'm Tamara.
Hi, I'm Alex.
I'm Jean.
And I'm Mac.
Okay.
To get
So,
this started, um, uh, when it comes to We Are the World, um, ident identifying the social welfare issue in the song, uh, it's with an organization anyhow, attempting to alleviate poverty within the area. And well, they do have some sort of uh, thing with it. They're it's short term, I guess, because it's thinking with money.
yeah, I agree with you, Frederick. I like the main social welfare issue of the song is obviously global hunger and the need to come together to help that issue. Um, the song really shows the urgent need and care and attention for those suffering extreme poverty and starvation. Would anyone else like to add on that?
I
I don't
mean,
really have any, sorry,
okay, go for it.
I don't really have any other um different opinions other than that it is about world hunger and poverty. I
Yeah,
agree with.
I think that's and then like the need to come together like throughout the lyrics like it really shows how like people need to come together to solve that issue. I think that's pretty much it. Like everyone could agree on that.
Yeah, I think some context too as well. Like when this song was released, there was a significant famine going on in Ethiopia and East Africa.
Yeah, in
So I
Africa.
think that's definitely part of it too as well.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this moves us on into our second, which is who is receiving social welfare. We covered it. It's the people of Africa.
Yeah.
But if we also look at the perspectives of the social welfare receivers and the providers,
Hmm.
it's almost it's not empowering. It's less work with the community and work for the community because it's a bunch of these celebrities going ahead and
Hmm.
talking about it in the middle of a stage rather than in the area where the issue is and they aren't speaking to anyone.
Yeah. I agree with you, Frederick. The lyrics like really portray them as helpless and need for others' help. Um, I believe that is important that people were getting educated on the issue and still are getting educated on it, and how they were trying to get people to see that understand that we need to come together to help and so they can have a bigger impact. Would anyone like to add on that?
I mean, basically the same thing as what you said, but a lot of really economic instability at the time, malnutrition,
Yeah,
lack of clean water, lack of healthcare.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
it's really important that we also address the fact that, you know, there the charities and everything that were also involved and as well as the relief organizations as well.
Hmm. Sure, I agree with you. Hmm. Can we move on to C now, or?
We can. I'd just like to speak a little bit more because the thing with this is, yes, it's also it's putting the people receiving the welfare as helpless, but if you also turn that around, it's making the people giving the welfare, providing it as heroes. And as social workers, we need to avoid having some sort of savior complex that we
Yeah,
could see our clientele as equal
yeah.
because they are equal.
I like how you said before when you said that we should be working with them, not for them, because it can make a sense that they have control and the people that are receiving the social welfare that have less power, and it can create like a weird dynamic where it's just not like healthy and like I don't know. They need to have the control of their own circumstances in a
Yeah,
way.
because these people, they're just shoving money into an issue. They
Yeah,
aren't working to solve the issue in
yeah, for sure.
uh hand-to-hand experiences, I should say.
Yeah,
They're in person.
yeah,
I think we'll probably address this later on, but like you're definitely right. I think definitely we're seeing short-term relief and change and stuff like that rather than long-term without addressing like structural and systematic issues.
yeah. Okay, are we good to move on to C? Does anyone else want to add to this?
No, I
I
think you
think
guys covered it pretty well.
Yeah,
Like a lot of these solutions, they're band-aid solutions. They don't really get down to the root causes of why people are suffering from famine. So yeah.
yeah, I agree.
and in one of the professors in one of his lectures that he posted, he was talking about how these people who are the ones receiving, they have the aspect of having their lives saved, but are the problems being resolved? And then he also said like we're giving, but we're not giving them the choice, and for that reason they're being objectified as social objects,
Yeah,
which is like
for
a
sure.
process of genocide.
I believe like having control is super important in your life because it gives you empowerment and it gives you like self fulfillment, and that's so important for self care. So yeah,
Yeah, and I guess that covers C, considering we went into who provides social welfare.
yeah.
Um, uh,
I also want to
and a
add on
little
to
bit of
C.
D. Yeah, Adam.
I really believe that it coming from like these very famous people at the time really impacted the message they were trying to convey to the world. It's important to see famous people trying to aim awareness on global issues because famous people play a crucial role in supporting global issues by raising awareness, having resources, having connections, influencing people's opinions, and inspiring actions, platforms, and making the cause like driving it as a more meaningful change. I thought that was important also, how there were artists trying to support an issue, even though it could create it in a negative way. But yeah.
So that also, considering what we also talked about, we delved a bit into D.
Yeah.
Safe to say we can move on to E or around there.
Oh,
Um, uh,
can I add something to D actually?
sure.
I thought it was interesting how like the singers are trying to encourage people, like individuals in North America to donate rather than trying to influence systemic change. Like they're not trying to really make any difference in terms of like colonialism or long-term processes that have led to the current situation. They're sort of just acting like it just happened and now they have to do something about it, as if there's like no responsibility to analyze and try and impact the systems that got it to that point in the first place, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Because that also asks or answers, I should say, a bit of E. They're just trying to say everyone donate to this. They're celebrities. They also have money. Uh, they also have influence. And when they're going ahead and essentially preaching to a choir rather than uh, participating themselves, which they could have for all I know, it doesn't make too good of an image, uh, and it doesn't resolve much.
Yeah, they're mostly focusing on the fact of just coming together and like being like um like charity almost, not looking at the long term issue and like things like inequality and like the main causes of the issues.
Now, we're
If I
gonna
may add one
skip a.
last thing.
Oh, go.
I was just going to say, I absolutely agree. Like, to me, it seems like they're treating it more like an earthquake or a wildfire than like a systemic process that was like intentionally manufactured and perpetuated, you know?
Yeah,
Like something that requires like immediate like donations to fix as if it's some spontaneous thing when it's really not.
yeah, for sure.
You know,
Now,
unlike
with
an earthquake where you can sort of clean up and everything's fixed, it's a very complex issue that takes a lot of time and a lot of resources to really get to the root of it and fix properly.
I also think that them like just like trying to influence people to like donate, they really need to look at their side and their voices and let them have control over a little bit and change for themselves because they can't just be dependent on these donations forever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think their voices and what like I think they need to speak also. You know, make sense? Yeah.
yeah, now we've covered most of the questions anyway. The forgotten resolution, etc. Uh, but the way it forms a different way of oppression, it doesn't really give voice to the people who are in need because they aren't there.
Yeah.
It's speaking on behalf of them rather than bringing them in so that you could work better with them.
Yeah, it's really giving them like the power and the control and making them look like heroes in the situation where they're just the ones that are the victims that need help, kind of.
Yeah, so how are we going to fix that? Is a good segue.
Yeah. Um.
If I may,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure.
I was thinking an anti-oppressive practice approach to welfare instead of just providing aid and charity could be used, like I said, to analyze and possibly challenge the social constructions that have led to these conditions in the first place. Um, by like challenging the whole like colonialism, exploitation, all that system that's been set up there to seek like a more equitable and sustainable balance of wealth and like welfare between people, as opposed to just like funneling money towards a perceived problem in the hopes that like, that will generate somehow permanent stability without addressing like the real long-term problems.
Yeah, I really agree with what you said. You pretty much covered it all. um.
With any sort of uh, well, with social work in general, some other issues that we have in the field are intersectionality. Uh, it's systemic, paired with many other things that
Mhm.
compound this oppression that keeps them down. So we need to empower them. We need to find some actual way of acknowledgement here.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much to
I think
say.
we've got it.
I would just like to add on like what Frederick was saying about intersectionality. Um, and then also what May was saying about the AOP. If we use the intersectional approach, we can allow them to give their opinion on how to be cared for so that their voices are heard.
I think that's like so important for their voices to be heard instead of just them donating and like they need to make change on their own.
Yeah, I think Taya, you spoke about the concept of like empowerment. I think
Yeah.
that's super important. Empowering those local communities that are in need of aid is really important.
Hmm.
I mean, if I may, like not just aid, but like systemic change to make it so that they don't necessarily need aid in the future, rather than like perpetually being in distress because the underlying issues aren't
Yeah,
being solved.
I think it's I think what we're going at is like more looking at the future than just the present, because what they're doing is just going to fix it for a short term, and we need it for the long term, right? And with what they're doing is just going to do short term and not look at the issues. I think we all have the same idea. I think we're just repeating ourselves now, but um, would you like to move on to like the lessons that we've learned from this?
I personally learned, and we're gonna have to wrap this up quick,
Yeah,
that no matter how big a company may be, it's always gonna have some form of oppression within it.
yeah. I think the lesson that I've took from this is that we really need to work with the people. And you've said that, Frederick, many times that it's important to work with them, not for them, because that really changes the dynamic of things.
I agree. It's all about engaging with the people receiving social welfare.
Yeah.
I agree as well.
Yeah, I think good intentions aren't always enough. You have to be mindful about how you're acting. Like the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I
Like,
think
yeah,
that's
I think,
the end
oh,
for the
sorry.
most part. Unless you have something to say, May?
I was just gonna say like a similar thing. Just you have to let communities speak for themselves because like they know what's going on more than anyone like outside who hasn't experienced it, you know?
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything to say before we call it off?
Um, I think we did good. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you can end the recording.